Hello ladies and gentlemen, my name is Relogic, and today we're going to talk a little bit about the Flower class Corvette. It was a ship that served during the Second World War in the North Atlantic with majority of Canadian and British service. It's a ship that I find pretty fascinating, seeing as it doesn't get as much credit as, the glorious battleships of the era like the Hood or the Rodney or Nelson. And I think it's kind of underrated in the fact that it did most of the work. It was the backbone of the Canadian Navy during the Second World War. It protected most of the convoys going to Great Britain, and it kept Great Britain in the war so that eventually, we could defeat the Nazis. So I think it was vital in the completion of its tasks and of the tasks of the Royal Canadian Navy and the Royal Navy. So over the course of the Second World War, about 267 ships were built, mostly in Canada, and served a majority in the North Atlantic, protecting convoys, as I previously said. So the Flower class was a Corvette class designation, meaning it was a smaller warship, just underneath a destroyer class, I guess in size. It had a length of 67.5 meters and a displacement of about 940 tons. It was powered by a steam engine producing 2,750 horsepower, which could propel the ship to about 16 knots, or in terms of kilometers, 30 kilometers per hour. So it was a smaller ship that obviously didn't have overly much enough speed. It was originally designed as a whaling class ship, and then the Royal Canadian Navy and the British Navy looked at the design and said, well, this is simple, it's going to be easy to build, and it turned out to be like a T-34 of the ocean. They could pump them out like nobody's business and produce the rolls that were desperately needed in the North Atlantic. In fact, Winston Churchill called them his cheap and nasties, meaning they were cheap, easy to build, but they were a hassle for the Kriegsmarine, especially in terms of the U-boats. For the armaments of the ship, it boasted a 1 times 4-inch cannon, 2 Vickers 50 cal machine guns, 2 Lewis guns, and 2 times depth charge throwers that could throw up to 40 depth charges with the ship carrying its original configuration. Later in the war, modifications would be made to the Flower class to include 1 2-pounder pom-pom AA guns, 1 Hedgehog anti-submarine mortar. It would add 4 depth charge throwers and an increased capacity of 70 depth charges on the ship. Also, with technological advances, better increase in sonar and radar capability of the ship was added as well. However, these ships were in such high demand that not all of their armament capabilities could be met, and a lot of times, in fact, telephone poles were added to the cannon in order to fool the Germans into thinking it was armed. And in another instance, 1 Flower class was sent to protect a convoy with nothing more than a bolt-action Lee Enfield rifle to defend itself. Designed as a whaling ship, it was only really intended to be a few miles offshore, not in the middle of the North Atlantic in February, where some of the worst naval conditions could be found. This was a more serious problem, seeing as the ship's design had an open bridge exposed to the elements, causing sailors to be completely soaked for the duration of the voyage. Ice buildup was seen as another issue for the ship. As the vessel broke over a wave, the water would crash onto the deck and instantly freeze in winter conditions, causing the ship to be severely top-heavy and could lead to it even capsizing. Even with these faults, the Flower class ship had an impressive service record and was credited with sinking over 50 Axis submarines. However, the class did not leave the conflict without its own losses. Over 22 ships were sunk by enemy submarines, 5 sunk by mines, and 4 were sunk by enemy aircraft. Today, only 1 Flower class ship still remains. HMCS Saxville, now a museum ship in Halifax, is our last reminder of these once great ships, and they may not have been without their flaws, but were certainly one of the greatest contributions Canada made to the war effort, and are something that Canadians should be able to take extreme pride in. Thank you guys for watching today's video. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe. I'm Relogic, and we'll catch you guys next time.